What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Savage Rounds with Xavier. Today for you, I've got the UFC Vegas 77 recap. It was a decent card. I think it was better than a lot of people expected it to be fight-wise. Obviously, the names weren't the best. We had Jack Della, obviously, Myra Bueno and Holly, but no super big names. I guess Terrence McKinney and Sajikov. No super big names, though. Let's get into it. Finally starting to get back on a little bit of a roll. I had a rough 3 or 4 weeks in a row pick-wise. I went like 50% 3 weeks in a row, and then the week before around the same or a little bit worse, something like that. But last 2 weeks, 8-5, 9-4. Still could do a little bit better, but getting back on a roll. Not too bad. Missed on McKinney. I don't feel awful about that one. McKinney looked decent in the first round. Completely different fight than I thought it was going to be. I thought McKinney was going to come out swinging and try and pressure because we've seen Sadikov be hittable before. But he came out, employed the wrestling, looked decent early. But then in the second round at some point, he kind of started to slow down, but I wouldn't really attribute the loss to that. He ended up ended up in Sadikov's like backpack. Sadikov took his back, but he had his arm stuck behind his back, so the rear naked choke was there real easy for Sadikov. Obviously, the longer the fight went, the better it would go for Sadikov, just because we've known McKinney doesn't have the gas tank. But McKinney looked decent in the first round. Kind of unlucky with getting his arm stuck, but also Sadikov is good. There were always going to be ways for him to win that fight. It was a 50-50 fight for a reason. And to be honest, like I said, played out way differently than I thought. The other miss, Duraev versus Park. I missed the first round of this fight, but the second round I came in and Park looked like he was doing well. Ended up getting the choke. There were a couple times where he had the choke in, and I could not believe Duraev hadn't tapped. I think maybe I did catch a choke at the end of the first, or maybe it was the beginning of the second, and I'm confusing it. I'm not sure. But there were 2 times where Duraev was in a choke, and I couldn't believe he didn't tap. But then Park ended up getting it for real at some point in the second. I believe it was the second. Yeah, end of the second. Got the tap. Good work from Park. He's on a good little streak. Let me pull it up real quick. Yeah, he's on a good little 4-fight win streak, 3 submissions in a row, 3 finishes, and derives a good win. Yeah, so looking good for Park. I've got some pretty good matchups made. I think there are some good ones in there. So Park's one of the guys I made matchups for, so we'll talk about that tomorrow. Next up, I missed on Zaitar and Prado. I do think the stoppage was a little bit early, but regardless, I think Prado was on the way to getting the finish, so I don't really think it ends up mattering that much. It's 2 fights in a row as Zaitar looks slow on the feet and scared. So I don't know. It might be time. Obviously, a lot of people after the last fight weren't gonna trust him, but I thought this was a spot where Prado was gonna come out and throw hands, and they did for a little bit. And as Zaitar, like I said, he just looked so slow. The speed wasn't there like it was in his first few fights. And then I missed on the main event. Holly just ended up getting subbed. It was a really nice submission from our Bueno Silva, and she could be something to look out for moving forward. It feels like the top of this division is a little stuck just because there's no champ right now, and a lot of the girls up there have had chances and have been in this division for a while, so I feel like we needed some new blood, and Myra Bueno Silva would be good to have in there. She's kind of the same as Jin Young Park, 4-fight win streak, 3 submissions in a row. So yeah, and obviously versus Holly Holm, that's a really good submission or win, let alone finish, to have on your record. Getting into the rest of the fights, Eileen Perez, Ashley Evans Smith. She dominated like I thought she would. The grappling was there. The striking was there when they were on the feet. Ashley Evans Smith she looked slow and like she hadn't fought in a really long time, which was the case. So it made sense. Munoz versus Deaton, same kind of deal. A little bit closer than I thought, to be honest, but like the rounds were pretty close, but I thought Munoz won all of them. Maybe you could give the first to Deaton, but I thought 30-27 was fine, or 29-28 at the least for Munoz. Not really too active on the feet, but landed a few big shots and dropped Deaton, wobbled him a couple times, and then had there really wasn't as much wrestling as I thought there was going to be. There was a little bit, but really not much. Maxum, Tyson Nam, very close fight. Maxum did end up getting the nod for the decision. It ended up being a split, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, I have it right here. Yeah, it ended up being a split. There were a lot of decisions to start off the card. It was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a row. But yeah, Tyson Nam did pretty good. A lot of good leg kicks. He was throwing the inside and the outside leg kick really well. And I think Maxum was just a little bit more active with his hands up top and was landing a little bit more. He went for a few takedowns. Or let me see, I can actually just pull up exactly how many. He went for 11, was only able to get 2, so pretty good takedown defense on the Tyson Nam side. But yeah, I thought Maxum got the win when I was watching it live, but again, it was close. I thought he just did a bit more in the end. Elder versus Valdez. Pretty good performance from Elder overall. He's looked good in his last 2 fights. This one, Gennaro made it a bit close at one point when he was able to hurt Elder, but overall, Elder looked pretty good. Like I said, Gennaro was able to land his shots and even hurt him at one point, but just throughout the fight, Elder looked pretty stable, was landing the bigger shots, was landing more shots, the more damaging shots, hurt Valdez also, and more times. So good performance from him. He had that performance versus Sadykhov where he didn't end up getting the win. He was on his way. All 3 judges had him up 2-0 in the end, but he ended up eating a knee, and there was a big cut that they had to stop the fight. So he could have been on a nice little 2-fight win streak right now, but Sadykhov was able to stop that. But regardless, good performance here from Elder. Lingo, Melquizel Costa, another one kind of went exactly like a lot of people thought it was, or a lot of people thought it would. I think some people thought there would have been a little bit more grappling. I also thought maybe Costa would have grappled a little bit more, but no real need to. He looked really good on the feet, was able to hurt Lingo to the body a few times, land some good shots to the head. His Muay Thai is really nice. He was throwing really good kicks to the body. It'll be really interesting to see who he fights next, how big of a step up he gets, because he did look really good. Obviously, Lingo's not the toughest opponent, but I think a lot of people thought he would have gotten him out early, and he didn't, so I think that was really the only kind of surprise about the fight. I thought the decision was going to be live, just because of how tough Lingo is, but really good performance from Melquizel Costa. I'll be excited to see who he fights next. Maybe he can get on that Brazil card. I'd assume he would be able to. He didn't really take much damage. Next up, Dudakova Nunes. That was just super unfortunate for Nunes. Nothing really happened. Dudakova shoots a takedown, kind of trips Nunes up. She posts with her arm, and it just dislocates at the elbow, snaps the other way. It was disgusting. Feel real bad for Nunes. Hope she heals up as quick as that injury allows you to heal, and we need to see Dudakova in a real fight. It's a win on a record, but literally nothing happened. Lutz versus Bagdasarian. Also, a lot of these fights, the wins kind of were, I don't want to say easy picks, but the read was definitely there in a lot of them, pretty obviously, and a lot of them, like I said, went pretty smoothly. Bagdasarian was able to do better on the feet, land the better shots. Tucker Lutz didn't really grapple too much. Some people thought he would, and that would have been his path to victory. He got 3 takedowns and had 6 minutes of control time, so I guess a little bit more than I initially remembered. But Melquizel still able to do more damage on the feet and win a unanimous 29-28 decision across the board. I already talked about Sadykhov versus McKinney. Dumont versus Chandler one of the funniest moments I've seen in a fight in a while. Dumont hit her with a nice little combination and hurt Chelsea Chandler, and Chandler literally turns 180s the other way and sprints towards the cage, and Dumont sprints after her. There's a really funny screenshot from the fight. I mean, there are a few times where the opponent has turned and sprinted away, but I don't know. The picture from that one is just so funny. Dumont ends up getting the decision. She looked really good on the feet. Grappling wise, let me pull up the stats. Dumont had 3 takedowns, almost 9 minutes of control time. Chelsea Chandler was only able to get 1 of 3 takedowns that she shot and 2.5 minutes of control time. So a lot of this fight took place on the ground. A lot of ground and pound strikes for both of them. But Dumont also winning the exchanges on the feet, hurting Chandler that time. Derive Park, I talked about. Azaitar Prado, I talked about. Della, Madalena, and Hafez. This one went differently than a lot of people thought it was. I think a lot of people thought Della was going to get the finish. I initially did too. After you watch Hafez a little bit, though, and hear a little bit more about him and hear other people talk about him, I saw some people talking about different bets on Twitter and stuff, and some people had talked about fight going past round 1, and it really made me think just Hafez hadn't been finished before. Even though it is really short notice for Hafez, and Madalena was scheduled last week, it is a different opponent, so it's short notice for Madalena too, and this is his second weight cut in 2 weeks, so 2 back-to-back weekends with a weight cut, so it was going to be tough. So I saw some people betting that. Fight starts round 2. That was a really solid bet, but Madalena, it's kind of crazy. After you think about it, I ended up watching a little bit of the fight back, not all of it, but I just didn't watch the last round because Della Madalena won that one pretty easily, I thought. But a lot of the time, Hafez wasn't really doing too much on the ground, not a lot of damage, and when it was on the feet, Madalena was landing a lot of good strikes. So I think although it was 29-28, I'd say, the 2 rounds Madalena won were pretty easy to spot. It was just a really good performance from Hafez in your debut versus a ranked guy in JDM, such a talented fighter. It was just really cool to see from Hafez, and I think it surprised a lot of people, including myself. And then Holm versus Bueno Silva I talked about a little bit. My awards now, and then we'll get to winners and losers. Fight of the night, I believe I went with the same one that actually got the award. I went with JDM versus Hafez. I think that's pretty easy. Obviously, the other one could have been Elder versus Valdez, but just before the main event, Della and Hafez stole that for sure. Banger from start to finish, and like I said, I just think how Hafez fought versus such a tough guy in his first fight surprised a lot of people. So yeah, definitely fight of the night. First performance of the night bonus, I'm going Jin Young Park. It kind of has to do, obviously, his performance. I didn't see the first round, but his performance in what I saw in the second round, he looked really good. Had him in danger quite a bit on the ground, and was able to get the finish on the ground too. So good performance, and he's on a nice 4-fight win streak. It'll be fun to see who he gets next. Prado, I'm also going to go with first round finish, even though, like I said, I thought the stoppage was early. Like Azaitar was still kind of trying to kick Prado off, and he wasn't like asleep or anything. He was definitely hurt, and I think the fight was going to be stopped, or I think Prado was going to have hurt him more relatively soon. So with that in mind, I think the stoppage ends up being okay. I'm not mad at it, even though I think it was a tad bit early. I don't think the result would have changed if they let it go another 30 seconds or whatever. So yeah, good from Prado, good win. First win in the UFC as well after Jamie Malarkey losing. I believe it was a unanimous decision. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure it was. And then big performance from Mayra Bueno Silva. Really big win in her career, finishing Holly Holm. That's always a tough ask. I think this is only the second time she's been submitted, and it's been quite some time since that first one. So really good for Bueno Silva. My winners of the night, first one up, Melquizael Costa gets his first UFC win after losing a really tough debut to Thiago Moises. I believe it was on short notice. He definitely didn't get a full camp, even if he got like 2 or 3 weeks notice. It definitely wasn't a full camp, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, he gets his first win in the UFC, and he looked really good doing it. I think a lot of people took pretty well to that performance. It'll give him good stock for his next fight. My next winner for the night, I'm gonna say, is Hafez. Even though he lost, I think there are still, regardless of what I said earlier about thinking the 2 rounds Della Maddalena won, they were relatively clear. I think a lot of people are going to still argue Hafez should have won that. And like I said, it was a close fight and a great performance from Hafez. So I think UFC debut, short notice against a ranked opponent in JDM, with a fight like that, a performance like that, getting fight of the night, puts a lot of stock in you for your next fight. Really cool to see from Hafez. Last winner of the night also has to be Bueno Silva. I was going to go with 4. I could have done Jin Young Park too. I was kind of going to say the same thing as Bueno Silva, but I just thought the stakes for Bueno Silva were a little bit higher regarding she's just closer to the title. But you could have thrown Jin Young Park in there too, 4 wins in a row, and he's getting closer to the rankings for sure. But yeah, Bueno Silva, just like I said, the stakes a little bit higher. She's closer to the title, 4 wins in a row, 3 finishes, and Holm, like I said, tough one to finish, and she got it done. Losers of the night, I only had 2 this time. I'm going with Ashley Evans Smith. She just didn't look good. She looked like she hadn't fought in a really long time. I don't know if she'll fight again. Probably not. I'd be surprised, to be honest. Maybe she will, but I would be really surprised. And then final loser of the night. There were some people that lost on the night, but I don't think it was a bad situation, like a really bad loss for them. Maybe you could say Carl Deaton, just because he probably won't get another shot in the UFC. So I could have added him, I guess you could say. But I just went with 2. And this one is strictly because of the injury. Estela Nunes. That is a tough injury, although it really just depends on the ligament damage, I think, because if I'm not mistaken, they said nothing was broken. It was just a dislocation of the elbow. Bone-wise. So if there's no damage to ligaments, I think it won't take too long for her to get back. But if there's ligament damage, which I would assume there is, it's going to be quite some time. And like I said, it looked pretty bad. So rough night for Estela Nunes. Hopefully she heals quickly and she gets back to it soon and we get to see her again, because although it'll count as a loss and that does not look good on her record, just looking at it on paper, knowing the circumstances, hopefully to give her one more shot at least. But yeah, that is all for the recap for UFC Vegas 77. Like I said, a few good fights and some good performances, but not the most exciting card. Really excited for this weekend. There are a few, it's definitely a better card than this, I would say, overall. Still not the most exciting card, but a few guys I'm really excited to see. I'll actually pull it up real quick. Aspinall, his return, I'm really excited for that. Wood and Feely, I think, is going to be a good fight. Paul Craig moving down. Lerone Murphy's back. Daniel Marcos undefeated. Joe Alvarez coming back. Yeah, Mahmoud Muradov. Yeah, there are some fun fights on this UFC London card. But tomorrow I will have out matchups for some of these guys, which will be Maxim, Elder, Costa, McKinney, Sadyakov, Park, Prado, Hafez, JDM, Holm, and Bueno Silva. I will have this video out tomorrow, all of the matchups, and then Thursday, UFC London predictions and bets. Drop a like on the video and subscribe. Peace out. See you guys tomorrow.